This conference will now be recorded.
We don't even have our mics.
That's right. That was me. See?
I went to turn it on.
Couple, yeah. Sure. I'll get one more. It would help, huh?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. The time being 16:47, I'd like to call the meeting of May 1st to order. Pledge of Allegiance.
1647.
I know. 4:47.
Spoken like a true cop.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm so used to military time.
I know.
I can't help it. Drives my wife crazy.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start right out. Selectman Hanson should be here shortly, I would assume. And we're going to start right out by reviewing the minutes of April 3rd.
I have not had a chance to read those, so I'm sorry if I don't want to hold anyone up.
Nope.
I have not read them.
I will say, let me see. Yeah, actually, it's not the April 3rd one. It's the April 17th. April 17th one. Sorry about that.
We still have April 3rd in here as draft.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Okay.
What does it say in our agenda?
Which one we're gonna
It says April 3rd. But let's do the April 3rd one.
do? Okay.
I don't remember seeing anything on this one that.
Yeah, I don't have those.
You don't have the April 3rd one?
No.
I read mine. You want them?
Just with the changes. So if
Yeah,
you-
because we
if
sent
you
this
just
back,
verify
right?
that changes, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I thought we sent it back.
Yeah, there was something in there that
I don't see. I only have the draft. I don't have the final.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't see anything that was changed. So, you know what we're going to do? Let's just go. I do know the April 17th ones need to go back anyways. So let's just do the April 17th ones. And then we'll
Table third.
Yeah, we'll table April 3rds.
Okay.
Okay. So the April 17th, I do know. I see there's a couple things on here. One, the very last, under the adjournment, it says that I made a motion and I seconded it. And then we also, if you look on page 2, it says under this concludes Tim Pearson's report. It says that I asked if anybody had anything, hearing none, and then I entered into non-public. But then it says the public opinion, or the public comment, I should say. So we should scratch that.
Yes.
And then go to the end of that, where it says then I then moved into non-public, because it says it twice.
Yep.
It says it on page 2 underneath this concludes Tim Pearson, that one. And then it also says it at the end of Greg DeVolder's public comment. So we're not putting him in non-public. So those are the two that I see.
I have a concern of Greg DeVolder's letter that he read being in here. I think we made a mistake allowing that in public. Of course, the horse ran out of the barn, but still. with his description, there is no doubt about who he's talking about. Unfortunately.
So you guys know better than me. Is there, when it comes to public comment, are they?
No one has a right to slant, we don't,
Yeah.
we have responsibility of making sure that no one is slandered
Yes.
publicly, and that's what happened. Even though we didn't name names, like I said, people have come up to me and they've watched the meeting. But again, I don't know what you do when the horse has already run out of the barn.
Well, what happens when people come in and make a complaint?
It's not done at a public meeting, recorded. The complaint is made,
I'm not
written down, and then it is investigated. There was no investigation. This is a statement.
I'm not questioning you, Catherine. I'm thinking of what has been done in the past. And I think based on what has been done in the past, this is what transpired. You haven't been here all
I've been here for over 20 years,
I know, but
and I can
there
tell
was
you
a
that people have
period,
been hauled out of this room that refused to be silenced, and
Catherine,
that were.
there was one person that was not only given asked to be in non-public, made a statement in non-public about another person that happened to be an employee. John can attest to this, but then that person was given that information and was allowed to make a public statement against the person.
So how many wrongs
Right.
make it
I'm
right?
just saying that these
I'm
things.
saying this that took place was
Right.
wrong. And I was a little bit too stunned to recognize it. It
So
wasn't
then
really
we
until
go
people.
into non-public all the time when somebody has a complaint.
Yeah, that might be.
Well, you don't allow them to read it at the microphone.
Yeah.
You give them the option to give us the paper and we'll look at it. Or, yes, we can have a non-public and they can read it to us. But most people give you the information. I'm just saying we made a big mistake and I don't think we can fix it. But more so on page 1, this is minor. Under announcements, Chair Adams, third sentence down, disassembling and rebuilding it would mean landmarks, and if disassembling and rebuilding it would mean it would remove from the registry. I don't know if,
That's, as
I think I said, I don't think I said it would. I said I think it probably
I
would.
think it probably, yeah.
yeah, and
I don't
according
think it
to
was
Ron
that-
Dunlop, it's not on the historical register.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
And-
that,
So should we, you want me to?
I don't
that
want it to
change?
be so declarative.
Right, right.
Okay,
I
so
want it
it
to
would
be-
mean that it would
It-
possibly, I'll take
Possibly.
possibly.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, can we just go back to the question on Greg DeVolder or the remarks? I don't, I didn't get a chance to read it beforehand. Thank you. Well, it's the, yeah. I didn't get a chance to read it beforehand, before Greg read it, but I have read it several times since. And I'm not sure that it would meet the criteria for 91A3 because he doesn't specifically identify. I agree with Catherine's comment that most people probably know who it was, but I think that I I don't recall. I'm assuming it does not meet the criteria of 90, non-public under 91A3, which would be section 2C, reputation.
When I read this as an attack on the selectmen not doing anything. And that's not a
He
non-public.
is, it is definitely, I'm going to say slandering two of our members. And like I said, I mean, people came up to me who had watched the meeting and listened to it. It became big news. I don't know how people knew about it so quickly and said, hey, well, that's pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
That's when it occurred to me, oh my God, we allowed him to stand there. And we've always been advised, Dan Crean, I can hear his words in my head, you have to be very cautious about, he's an attorney
Oh, okay.
that we used to use, about that sort of thing. If there's any hint of discrediting or slander or anything like that, you don't allow it. And it wasn't necessary for him to read it. He could have handed us this and said, here, you need to act on this, but he didn't. And we allowed it. But like I said, the horse ran out of the barn. I don't know if we can corral it back up. The damage is done.
But
I just-
going forward,
We need to be more cautious.
And maybe that's something that I could peruse and then give you
Yeah.
advice on as to whether it should be public or non-public.
Yeah. I think that would be a good idea because, I mean, it would be important if we're going to have something
Yeah,
like
because the public is allowed to speak and they are allowed to,
Yep.
Basically chastise you folks. you
Right.
know. They don't
Yeah,
agree
they
with
can-
you.
They can say whatever they want about us.
that. Right.
That's
Yeah,
right.
right.
Any elected official, they can
That's right.
Yeah.
bare their souls.
Yeah.
But
yep, they can.
All right.
So who would we ask about that?
Actually, I can.
local government center.
Yeah, I can probably make can definitely make a call and just ask them. I'll send them the content of the discussion and ask them if it's,
Yeah, if they have
Yeah.
any information on like training for that, on what can and can't be said.
yeah,
Send some documentation over that says, explains what can and
Yeah.
what consists of.
and we do have a 91A3, 90 right to know training coming up. So
My son's calling me.
it's man.
I gotta turn my phone
And
off.
and that's one of the windows with the new film on it.
Maybe they need to put a double layer on that one.
I'm gonna suggest that.
Okay. So that's what we'll work on is having him kind of,
I suggest before we allow anybody just to come up and bare their soul, we find out what they're,
bearing
we
it
read
about.
what they're going to
if
bare
it's
their
allowed.
soul on first.
Read it and then allow them.
Yeah. Okay.
Let me just play devil's advocate here. What if he didn't come in this venue and just put it in the paper?
Then it's
Right.
on him, not on us.
All right. Anybody else? Anybody have anything?
So we really don't want to discourage that kind of behavior. I mean, we don't want to encourage that kind of behavior. We really do want the public to come in
Feel free. To
and talk to us. So we have to find a happy ground somewhere in that.
Well, you just don't let
Venue.
people disparage other people in public
Mm.
because that's on us. If they want to do it out on the street corner, or the newspaper, or television, that's on them.
Yeah.
Not on us. Our responsibility is to the town of Tilton. Prevent lawsuits.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. All right. So those minutes are going to go back. Did you see anything, John?
No.
Okay. All right. so announcements. I'll read this one real quick. This one is from the Tilton Senior Executive Committee. It says, Dear Selectmen, it is with a great deal of excitement we are pleased to announce the 15th birthday of the Tilton Senior Center. We have experienced such exciting times since a group of dreamers first put forth the idea at the 2010 town meeting for converting the old Grange into a home away from home for the seniors of Tilton and the surrounding communities. A dedicated group of caring individuals and businesses from our community worked tirelessly to bring this dream to life. Each of you, in some way, made the dream a reality. Please join us on May 10th, 2025, from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Senior Center on Grange Road in Tilton to celebrate. It is our way of saying thank you for all you have contributed throughout the years. Please RSVP and let us know if you can join us. You can email sandy.plesner@gmail.com to let us know whether or not you will be with us to celebrate. Sincerely, the Tilton Senior Executive Committee.
Thank you, Scott.
Does anybody have any other announcements? I know we're going to get into...
Just going over the, announcing the cleanup day. Is that on yours? I think
yes,
That might be on,
cleanup day, yes. That one...
is that on your report?
No, it's...
Cleanup day? No.
I will... So it's April...
Amnesty
You
Week?
corrected me. It was
April 7th, so it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday
April 30th.
through
of this week,
May 3rd.
Yes.
right now.
Yep. So it's going on right now.
Well, not right now, 5 o'clock.
Well, 5, yes. So it's going and it's running through
Saturday,
Saturday.
Correct.
Yep.
that's the big day.
Yep. That is the big day. All right. I don't see. Okay. We're going to do. Are you doing Tim's?
No, Tim's off this week.
Okay.
So
All right.
he just wanted you to have information. He really didn't have anything relevant. So you should have budget, revenue, expenditure updates that he sent out as well. So
Yeah. Okay. I saw those in an
Yeah.
email.
I did put on the agenda a reminder about the Island Bridge discussion. Next week is, 15th, May 15th is scheduled for, we had to reschedule it. The AM Groton folks will be here.
Yep.
So any questions the board might have, maybe you want to write down and.
Have we pinned down those final costs? I know we got an approximation, I've written them down.
Yeah, we're gonna get it in Tim's report before this meeting, but I believe the only costs that were not in the original quote were the insurance bond. So,
Was the what?
sorry, not performance bond cost, which we have to pick up, but Tim will have that. He was working with Meg from AM Groton.
Well,
See,
no, we had other costs.
So the performance bond,
We don't have, the only cost that we have is the 512,000. We don't have the cost of, I'm probably gonna get this wrong, because the power lines aren't coming down. They're
correct,
taking the bridge in 2 pieces.
correct.
So that's gonna increase the cost for the crane work?
No, that's included in there.
No. When I brought it up the last time with Tim, he said there was an increase in that cost because of, we're not taking it out of one piece, it'll take more time. But see, and maybe I am wrong, but
Yeah.
that's what my rememberer is
Yeah,
remembering.
yeah, no,
Could we have an outline of the costs?
Yep.
And I don't care if it's a plus or minus
Yep.
projected cost,
Yep.
but the cost of all of these items.
Well,
And it's been brought up numerous times.
we will have that before we do any signing. And the performance bond will be included in there.
Yeah, because I definitely want to see all of those costs
Yep.
before we even get the contract.
Yep.
So that way we have a good idea. So I don't have the updated agenda. So
I was
I'm really
gonna ask
hurting
you
that
that.
Amy is not here.
Uh,
I'm really hurting that.
Here you go. You don't mind.
No, I got it on my phone. That's fine.
No,
You-
take mine. I'm fine with it.
That's the one I got.
yeah,
That's not the
I was
updated
gonna
one, is
ask
it?
you that because you
Mine's
were,
not. This
you-
is the updated one, the
yeah,
one from May
and
1st.
the,
I'm
One
good.
more thing on the bridge.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. You-
I'm,
okay.
I'm all set.
So I know there was, somebody was asked about doing something for the paper, the Concord Monitor, something was asking questions about the bridge.
correct.
So we're
Yes.
going to have to do, I would suspect that after we get this on the 15th, we can
Correct.
put together a press release of doing that and then send it out.
Why don't we have one, try to have one prepared for that meeting that we can review and agree on and sign?
I think that's good.
Yeah.
And
I
then we
like
can
that
get
idea.
release right
I
away.
sent that out, to you guys about the
Good job
request.
remembering that one, John.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, actually, and I thought I discussed it with Eric when we were talking, that we wanted to make sure that we included them so that we could get back to them, because it would be nice to do.
Hmm.
So,
And, probably some of the other papers, the Echo or the,
Yep. Daily Sun.
or anyway.
So
Then
it'd
you're
be
not
nice to
on
be
the
able to
spot
say
for-
we have a signed
It
contract.
would be good to do that because I think people will be excited
Yeah.
to finally see some
I am.
information about it.
I'm very excited.
To further that discussion, this federal monies are hanging from a limb.
I know.
I presume because we have the permission to bond, if that falls through, that we will bond this project.
that
Is
that is
that
that
what's
is
gonna
my
happen?
assumption.
I'm pretty sure because
Yes.
Tim did mention
Yes.
something to me
Yep.
last week, I think it was.
And we shared that with the AM Groton folks, because we don't want them thinking,
Yeah.
we've
We
decided to do it sole source.
Right.
So,
We should make sure that the public is aware of that possibility.
Okay.
Does that need to be an emotion?
When we decide to do it, yes. I'm just thinking of the press release at some point. I mean, it is. If we're going to sign a contract to go
Mhm.
forward with this,
Yep.
I presume the contract will have some language that would let us drop out if we
Right.
choose to, if we don't get those monies.
Right.
But we also should have the option of
Going into that? Yeah.
going forward with the bond.
Okay.
I just
As
think
per
the
that
public should know now that
town
that's a
meeting that we had.
possibility,
right.
because I'd like to hear what they think.
If we need to utilize the bond, we need to know in enough time so that we can sit and prepare and make that motion so that we don't have to all of a sudden scramble, because it's been done in the past, scramble together, have an emergency meeting and say, okay, yep, remember those?
Make sure we get it right.
And make sure we get it right. And then we forget things, and we need to be prepared in plenty of time so that we can all think about the process and know what we're doing and the pricing and all of that.
Yeah.
I brought it up.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Oh,
Catherine.
that's good. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. So we're going to go into selectmen reports. John, you want to start us off?
Sure. We're getting near the season of warmer weather and that. We put money aside in the budget for cleaner for the statues. So if
yeah.
could ask Tim to go ahead and order that,
Okay.
and we can do that, and put that together and set up a time for It's been, I think, 2 or 3 years since we've done them, so we can do that. And I believe Shane or Kevin, I don't remember the last time who was in charge there, set up some road cones at the time just to assist to do it. We did it real early in the morning before everybody, and
Yeah.
just to do this one, it's real quick.
Yeah.
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 It's not real bad like it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and can do that. Spring cleaning.
Does it have to be when you do the cleaning? Do you have to wait and does temperature affect it? Like so, because last night it was down in the 30s.
No.
So I was wondering if we had to wait a little later into the season.
No,
Or it's warmer
it's
at night.
no, you can do it any time of the year. And, it's better if it doesn't rain while it's happening.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the only
Yeah.
thing.
I'll just wash off.
Just in case anybody's wondering, all the stuff is completely biodegradable. It doesn't hurt plants or
Right.
anything. But
Yeah.
yeah, we still put stuff over there to protect the planters anyway, and it's all
Right.
nothing
Yeah.
harsh. I think, yeah, that's I did notice they were cleaning fire hydrants out there. So going around doing all that. I think everybody else might have
Mhm.
noticed that.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
Flushing, yeah.
Flushing,
Yeah.
yeah.
that's all I have for
Okay.
reports. Yeah.
All right. And John is not here. I'll shoot him a text. I don't know. Pat, you're up.
Okay, I have 2 with one hat and then 2 with the other. Memorial Day, are we going to do anything? I know every year, say we should do something for Memorial Day and it goes by and we don't. And I don't know what's happening with the trough yet, if we're going to plant or out here if we're going to plant. Because I was going to offer to donate monies to the plantings if we needed to.
We'll plant the circle definitely, but the trough is in limbo.
Okay.
I mean, we can always, if it does get pushed off to the end of the summer, doesn't sound like it, but if it does, or we don't do it or whatever,
Mhm.
we can just put in there whatever we can get our hands on.
Yeah.
But the circle will be planted.
I'm not sure how much better we can make Memorial Day, but I stand out there and there's, a few people that make it.
I always out there.
Yep. John and I usually, and Catherine's out there early in the morning finishing plantings. But it doesn't seem to have that draw that other parades have in town. And I don't want to say it should have a happy draw, but it should have a draw. We should, as a town, recognize that it's just it's over in 3 minutes, maybe.
Why don't we at least get in touch with the Legion and help them promote their event, their parade? We have that moving signboard we could put out and to let people know. It also will tell people, don't go down Main Street at that time, but to let people know that it's going to happen. Put it on Facebook. Is that, yeah, Facebook. It's not the what is it, TikTok? No, it's Facebook, right?
Facebook.
TikTok's been in the news.
Yeah. I would. What you have some?
Possibly, we put some flags or something, like the
Mm.
bunting on the building or something.
The flag Shane did tell me he ordered, but he ordered a different style this year because he wants the ones last year apparently didn't last, and that a strong wind takes them off. So he asked my permission, and I told him, fine, as long as it's not,
I was
7
thinking for
times more.
The building here,
Right.
we have that,
The bunt.
Yeah.
that bunting or something, we
Yeah.
could hang it over the top of the window.
You keep it
Just some
there.
ideas. We have
Hang
another
it from the
meeting before
balcony
then.
if somebody dares. There was some up on the stage
Bunting?
Yeah.
that
For a
this
long
building
time.
used to be decorated in one of those big,
Oh, really?
'cause
It used to be all around the building, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the whole front definitely.
And also the sign,
I'm sure they did a
Memorial
4th of
Day
July.
parade.
Be nice if somebody could check into that.
Yeah, I'm checking. I'll
See if
check.
that could be
Yeah.
done. That would be nice.
Yep.
And we could ask the Legion if there's any, how could we help
Right.
besides just promoting it?
Mm-hmm.
It is their event.
Right.
Yeah.
It'd be really nice.
That'd be good.
Thank you all. I appreciate it. Next week, I would love to be put on the agenda to talk about the Winnisquam agreement that we have with, it's called,
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Yep. 0657.
I might not have it with me.
Yeah, I went to
It's the
school.
mutual agreement that we have, that we waive all the fees with all the permitting fees to Winnisquam. Remember last August, we did it?
Mhm.
I would really like to talk about that, but I don't want to talk about it tonight because I'd really like Tim to be a part of it because he presented it to us. 'Cause I have some serious concerns.
Okay. Can you
Okay.
just write that down, Scott?
Yep.
So we'll have her, Pat, on the agenda.
All right, and I would, no, I guess I can do this with my same hat here. At some point in time, and I know that we don't have the money to do it, and I know that the zoning amendments need to be updated. There are a lot of critical points in it, and I shouldn't say critical points in it, there are some discrepancies in it. And there are some paragraphs that I know what the intent is, but the language is not coming out that way when it's being read by a lawyer. So I would really like it to be audited by Lakes Region Planning Commission. It's a very hefty price, extremely hefty price. However, it will be done and done professionally, and that we can do it. 2 or 3 times, the land use coordinator, town administrator, and they have sat in Zoom meetings with a lot of professionals, architects, lawyers, and so on and so forth. And recently, one of the questions was in Village District.
Housing.
It's permitted for apartments and condominiums, yet it's not permitted for multifamily. Can you explain why? And it's questions like that it's very difficult to answer, and it's not very professional when you have a book that is supposed to be their Bible to go by, your amendments, their Bible to go by. So I'm really proposing that if we either have money at the end of the year to do it, and or a warrant article which would include that and the master plan at the same time. Because the master plan hasn't been updated for almost 13 years, and at the end of the year, it will be 13 years. So that will get a good start into a very good foundation in the land use department.
Has the planning board been consulted in either of those? It's the planning board's responsibility to update the master plan, not the Board of Selectmen's.
Mm-hmm.
And has the planning board been consulted about Lakes Region planning and going over our zoning?
No, but the land use coordinator will be more than happy to bring that up. That's not a problem. The issue is time. The issue is time. The last time, my understanding is that it took almost 6 or 7 years for the master plan to be written, or more for the master plan to be written. And I don't want zoning amendments. If you took all that needs to be corrected, voters at the polls would look at it and say, no, thank you. I'm not voting for that. I'll just vote for who I want to vote and forget it. I'm not going to vote for the amendments, because there will be a list this long when you make the changes. Otherwise, you make the changes.
They're still going to have to vote on whatever
But then-
Lakes Region planning comes up with.
But it would be as a whole and not individual when the planning board works on it.
Well, again, it's up to the planning board.
Mm-hmm. It is. But as a selectman, that's what I'm suggesting. Because I'm looking at how to get this done proficiently and effectively so that our land use department can work proficiently and effectively.
You know, we keep stepping over the planning board.
Just not stepping over the planning
We
board.
stepped over the planning board when it came to the building fees, the building permit fees. We stepped over the planning board. Here again, this should have been addressed to the planning board before it got here.
Let me wear another hat for a second. Last week, there was supposed to be a planning board meeting. There were no cases whatsoever. And this is the difficulty that I'm having. There was no cases whatsoever. Well, could we use this as a workshop? Sure. What would you like to bring up? What would you like to work on? I don't know. As a land use coordinator, you need to have some type of direction. What would you work on? Would you work on zoning board amendments? Would you like to work on over here, some of the things that are ineffective over here? But I'm getting a no, and last minute, the meeting was canceled with no workshop. And that's kind of what I'm facing.
Well, this planning board member wasn't asked, and I certainly have a list and have given a list at almost every meeting.
So
Again, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, I
Okay.
understand what you're saying.
yeah,
The planning board should have heard this before the Board of Selectmen.
when we meet, they will.
So, you're the ex officio from the selectmen on the planning board.
I'm a member of the planning board.
And I think that's because one has to be from the Board of Selectmen.
That's right.
That's correct. I know I'm the alternate. I know when I was the member, we had discussed that same topic, and it was, and that was before you were. And they were going to go and work on it regularly throughout the whole year and not just wait to the end of the year, because at the end of the year, all of a sudden, it's like, scramble. And then you get some, like the potable water thing. Yeah, and it's like, let's put it together quick.
Yeah.
So as the person that's a selectman on the planning board, could you bring that up as a meeting note that we want to keep
I have a
working on that
list.
and represent that as
I can do
the
that.
selectmen? I think we're all.
But I'll discuss it with the
on-
planning board and see if they want me to. One of the others may want to do it instead, but we'll have that conversation.
That's a good route to go and get started and see if they want to go and get outside help or whatever.
Yeah.
And the other part of that is, if we're requesting, and I don't know if it should come from the planning board, but the other committees should be starting to read their portion of the master plan and look at and say, hey, this is 90s stuff and
Yeah.
we
yeah,
don't have,
definitely.
that's no longer valid. Times
Right.
have changed
Yep.
a lot.
Absolutely.
And
Well, that's
all
up
the
to
different
planning board.
committees and boards should all be reading their portion. And we should, and I don't know, does that come from the planning board asking them to
Those
do
are
it?
in the planning board.
So-
And we did at one point,
And,
many
send-
moons ago, we
Yep.
did exactly that. I know we asked the Conservation Commission to write the portion that has to do with wetlands and water and,
Mhm.
and green space and et cetera, et cetera. And it worked out very well
So I
until somebody decided that they didn't like it and changed it and turned into a
pie fight.
cluster. But that was one person acting out of committee.
So if, respectfully asking the planning board, and you are a representative to, if that would be possible to notify all the other boards and committees to take a look at that and set some dates. Maybe everybody can get together. 2-3 years ago, it couldn't be longer than that. Everybody got together. I think it was planning, zoning,
Yeah, it was about 2 or 3 years ago.
and it was great. They
Yeah.
took a
Really?
member from each
Yeah.
board and each committee and set them into groups. So each
Oh, really?
little group had a member from all things.
Mhm.
And
Right.
then
Oh,
there
that's
was a
good.
discussion on how they feel about stuff
Yeah.
and all that information. And there might even still be some notes around on it
Oh,
that
wow.
would help as to what they all felt, how
Yep.
they felt their communications were, and right
sounds
down
like
to
a
what
good idea.
changes.
It would be nice to get some type of movement going.
I could keep going, but I'm not
Yeah.
going to.
I do have one question, Pat. The the zoning amendments with all the new zoning things that are coming out, and obviously we're not going to know where any of that lands until everything is.
Mhm.
Is that going to make it harder for if we start working on zoning? Okay. All right.
Because we can't change anything until the election,
Correct.
town meeting.
Right. So that's what okay.
But we need to do it now because there's a lot to do.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, I can tell you our definitions in subdivision, some of them don't match our definitions in
Right.
zoning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's,
All right.
there's quite a bit. I think Catherine and I both agree there's quite a bit of work to be done on it.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. All right. I just want to switch my hat for 1 second. We'd recently had an audit from DRA, multiple departments here in Town Hall, but land use, our segment of that audit was land use change tax, current use, how we file them, how we record them, what forms are kept and how they're kept and how they're, where they're filed, everything. I mean, it was, Lauren was a great help. They DRA gave us the files ahead of time, which ones they were going to come and ask for. Some of them were 8 or 9 years ago. we don't know how that turned out. They're coming back on the 20th, I think it is.
Correct.
So I guess we'll get the report card back at
Yeah.
that time.
Yes.
So other than that's it for me.
Okay. Real quick, Selectman Hanson is out of state. He did mention something to me that he wasn't sure if he was going to be here at the last meeting when we were leaving. So
Yeah.
he reminded me that
Okay.
he let me know. So yes, so he is out of state. So he will not, and he was not able to get on tonight. So, okay, you're up.
Academy Street, well, I had asked a while ago for a breakdown of the costs. We kind of have a lump sum.
Yes. And
And I would like to see a breakdown. I also see in here we have a liability waiver agreement that's been hashed out. Are we waiting for Tim to go over that?
that's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. On both, Catherine.
Okay.
Because we did have a meeting after your request with the water district or an employee of the district and the two engineers, our engineer and the water district engineer, and we divided up. Tim and I looked at what our troops could do and save us costs. I think we came up with roughly 30,000 in savings off that initial figure. And we threw offers back and forth as to what the water district could do potentially. And then if the district agrees with that, then Tim and I will come back to this board and get your opinion of the negotiations and separate out the savings from what the original quote was. So we'll be able to say roughly shave off 30,000 off the request that we'll be able to do. So we took some stuff out of the engineer's quote, and he is going to work some numbers. It was Brian, and then get back to us. So as soon as that we hear from Brian and the water district, we were putting a package together for this board.
Well, that's not going to preclude us from getting a cost breakdown from.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
Right. No, that's
That's
in the making.
I don't even remember if they separated out. They must have a contingency.
Yeah.
I don't even know if they've got that separated out. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I would like that, please, before we
Okay.
go much further. Now I'd like to talk about attorneys. We seem to be using attorneys, and I say we. Land use is definitely using them. Or you emailed and included her in the 91A. But it's always been the policy of the Board of Selectmen. The request comes to us for a specific purpose, and we say yes or no, and then it's done. We did not retain an attorney for the use of land use. We retained an attorney because land use had some issues, and they needed the advice of attorney on these specific issues. And we did that, and that should have been it. The zoning board requested an attorney on August 27th, 24, for Autumn Drive. I cannot find anywhere in the selectmen's minutes where that request came to us. Or I take it back. They came to us, yes. I don't have the right date in here. They came to us prior to August 27th and no, they didn't. I'm sorry, they in their minutes requested the use of an attorney.
In whose?
Then they had another meeting that they were going to do a walkthrough. And then the next meeting, the case was done. So that should have been ended, the zoning board use of an attorney, because no specific request has come to us for an attorney. But yet an attorney has showed up at zoning board meetings. That needs to stop. I don't want to know how it happened or what, but it needs to stop because that's not how we budget our legal line. It's not so people can just, I need an attorney, and they call one up, and a few $1,000s later or $500 later, there's an attorney. The 91A, an attorney was never used on that case. It was never requested by us, and I can't find anywhere in the zoning or planning minutes where an attorney was consulted for that case.
For the
Pardon?
for the 90, this recent one, or
For the case that the 90, well, it's public. The request is
So the-
public, the Bernard case.
okay?
Okay.
All right. I just want to make sure
So,
for
like I said, it needs to stop. If the planning board or the zoning board requests an attorney, that request needs to come to the Board of Selectmen. Because sometimes that, what they need help with can be answered by the state. I'm gonna write it down someday, economic, whoever is taking over planning and zoning. Or sometimes local government center, and sometimes maybe an attorney. But those avenues that we don't have to pay for because we belong to them, like the local government center, we pay to be a member, and they offer us free legal advice. We need to use those avenues first.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chairman, can I just add to that? I sent out the 91A request to the attorney that Catherine's talking about. And I did that because when I got the 91A request, I do understand attorney-client privilege. However, if there was anything that attorney that I sent it to had to turn over, I wasn't sure, to in response to the 91A request. So it wasn't consulting her for legal advice. It was in the essence that I thought she may need to surrender documents as well. I didn't know that at that time that she specifically does not have to. And that's
attorney-client.
right. It's well, I do understand attorney-client, but that was why I sent it to her. It was a forethought in my mind that I sent it out.
But she was not involved in the Bernard case.
Wasn't that what she was hired for?
No.
No.
She was hired to help land use go through some issues they were having. And it had nothing to do with the Wallace case or the Bernard case. The zoning board specifically requested an attorney for the Wallace case, but that request never came to the Board of Selectmen,
Okay.
and it should have.
I thought when we chose the second attorney in this meeting, in a non-public meeting, not to discuss facts, but it was asked that we continue to use the other attorney in outside of that. So in other words, if you recall, we chose a separate attorney in the lawsuit that was filed.
That's because, again, the horse ran out of the barn.
Okay. All right.
So I'm just saying, going forward, we need to get back on track. And if an attorney is needed, the request needs to come from the zoning board or the planning board to the Board of Selectmen. I don't care who delivers the message, but that's how it comes. And then the board makes the decision because it's our budget. And it's going to be easily overspent if we don't continue with those conditions.
Okay.
I have something to say about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
I still use that attorney. Excuse me,
Which hat are you?
I'm going to use land use.
Okay.
Thank you. I stopped myself. I have currently 2 cases that are the next step is court on issues that if they don't go to the planning board soon, they're going to get shut down and go to court.
But that is not your
I
purview.
can't take them to court.
But that's not your purview. That's the planning board's
This
decision to make.
no,
It's not yours as land use.
It's not.
Your role is really a secretary.
Well,
The planning board makes those decisions, or the zoning board. And that's
it
the
is not
problem.
my role as a secretary. It's my role as a land use coordinator.
What's the difference?
There's quite a bit of difference. I beg to differ with you.
The
I'm
title
sorry.
is the title is the title. You don't make decisions for the planning board or the zoning board.
No, I make a decision as a land use coordinator.
But you don't
And those
decide these-
violations continued.
That's up to the planning board. You do not litigate these cases. The cases come in. You do the filing, you do the recording, you do the paperwork, you get the information
I
to the
disagree
planning
with
board.
you. I totally disagree
You
with
do
you
not
because they
litigate
are
these cases.
violations.
That's up to the planning board.
No, it's not.
How is it up to you? That's planning, not land use coordinating.
This started months ago. Months ago. And let's talk about, you made a statement when the case was done. The case was never done.
Right.
It was being processed in the court. It was never done.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when the zoning board asked, if you read the minutes, when the zoning board asked for the attorney, it was for that specific hearing, what they were hearing. And then they did a walkthrough, and then they made a decision on that hearing. That was it. And to back up, the request for the zoning board to have an attorney never came to the Board of Selectmen. It never came here. And it should have. That's the problem. The land use coordinator should not be continually consulting with an attorney. When the land use coordinator came to the Board of Selectmen, the request to use an attorney was specific. That's done. In fact, I believe we attached.
It's the same case.
I-
Where is it done?
No, it wasn't. You never came for a case. You came for some issues before this case. Before this case. Because we never assigned an attorney to that case. Before that case even came here, that request was made, and that's the only request.
I agree to disagree with you on that
Read the
one.
minutes.
So I'm obviously, this is when the land use coordinator, or when this attorney started working with the land use coordinator. Was that before I came on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And it was before Wallace Products. Or Wallace, whatever it is.
And then, so I just want to make sure I'm not getting confused as to which cases were. So the attorney for what you had requested for, that case is still going?
No,
No.
no. There was never a request to the Board of Selectmen for Wallace. The zoning board asked for it in their minutes.
It's not Wallace that I'm using her for.
You shouldn't be using her for anything. Because again, when you came, it was specific. I need to get through this, this, and this. We gave us, I'm pretty sure we gave a small budget, and that should have been the end of it. When other things come up, it's the Board of Selectmen that decides if anyone uses an attorney.
So each, okay,
If Parks uses an attorney.
Yeah.
If Conservation needs to consult an attorney. If any committee or board needs to consult an attorney, well, except for sewer, it needs to come to the Board of Selectmen.
okay.
And the issue here is, it did not. But again, the horse ran out of the barn charging. It's a little hard to pull it back now, but when this case is done, it needs to be done.
Take the,
Wait,
And the Board of Selectmen needs to decide which attorney might represent us if necessary, because now there's really two on board.
I think I'm a little I think
Catherine
I'm a
is
little-
talking about two things. One is one to represent the land use as needed, and the other one is the Wallace case, which
Yeah,
is
okay.
ongoing, which is,
Yep.
And was approved by the board.
which was
It was not approved by the Board of Selectmen.
ongoing. And
Selecting, representing the town and two other individuals. That was approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Nope.
We sat downstairs and talked about it.
Wallace Products, when that request came in July, well, it didn't come. When the zoning board made that request in July to have an attorney represent them, it did not get here. I read the selectmen's minutes. It did not get here.
We didn't
Uh,
know, but we did. We
We,
sat downstairs
Right.
because I do remember that.
After the
We sat
lawsuit was
downstairs.
filed. Yes,
Yeah,
we,
and we agreed on.
correct.
We asked him to pick, or
Three people.
there were three people that were
Right.
names that were brought up,
Correct.
and then I remember that piece. There were three names that were brought
Non-public
up.
meeting.
Yep. You know,
that was,
Yeah.
I can't continue my conversation because it's really non-public.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
Attorney-client.
I
But
see
that
what
has
you're-
nothing to
yeah.
do with what I'm talking about.
Oh,
That
okay.
was way after the horse. Hell, the horse was halfway to Concord.
Oh, okay.
Well, that
if
took
you,
place.
That's
if-
why I'm sorry, Kath. I think I wasn't here.
The bottom line here is, if somebody's going to need an attorney, the request needs to come to the Board of Selectmen. If the zoning board needs an attorney, it needs to come by way of the zoning board to the selectmen. The planning board, like I said, parks, any of, it comes to the Board of Selectmen.
Mhm.
We cannot afford for people to use attorneys whenever they feel it's necessary.
Okay.
Because
So
May I-
There's other avenues.
so right now, taking the one that the Wallace one, the one right now is the only thing that attorney's being used for right now. If I think I'm correct, is anything that the land use coordinator has an issue with or needs to.
no,
No.
it's a zoning board.
it's only the court case. Wallace Products is only the court case.
It is, yeah.
The land use coordinator is using the other lawyer
Yes, that's what I mean.
But the land-
for violations, clear, distinct violations by businesses within the town of Tilton that need not, this is after we've gone to New
get it
Hampshire
now.
Municipal. This is after we've looked up in the RSAs and gone through all of this, that we need an attorney now to
All right.
take over.
So
That request never came to the Board of Selectmen.
Well, listen,
Okay.
here's the theory on this part. If you have something that's a time-sensitive nature, whether it's zoning board or whether it's land use coordinator, a land use violation, you're going to wait 2 weeks to speak with the Board of Selectmen or 1 month for a zoning board meeting.
Mhm.
Okay?
I agree with that.
Well, that's what it is.
And that's what it is. So we have a town administrator that we used to allow to run our daily affairs in town hall and oversee what the employees were doing and using and so on and so forth, and give permission on a as needed basis for these things that come up. And that's what has happened. None of which the land use coordinator has been without permission.
And I've seen those legal expenses that
So
took place.
you see now the conundrum, because if you have something that's a violation that needs to be a cease and desist immediately,
Correct.
you have to wait 2 weeks before you meet with the Board of Selectmen. And or if it's a zoning board that needs to speak with an attorney, they have to wait for the following month.
Mm.
Or meet sooner.
Go ahead, John.
So we used to meet every week. And
Who used to meet?
the
every-
Board of
Selectmen.
Selectmen.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
so we've also, in the past, if there's an emergency of something like that, we call out emergency meeting just for this topic. It's attorney-client or something like that, and we meet. The other thing is I think the role of town administrator, as opposed to have, that type of government with the selectmen, as opposed to having a town council and a mayor and doing that, that's different. So as a town administrator, I don't believe, and from what I've learned, does not have the purview to go and make those type of decisions.
I disagree with that, John. In Andover, I did. In Andover, anybody, it was the selectmen's policy that anybody that needed to speak to a lawyer ran it through me first. They came to me, and I would make that determination whether it could be a quick answer at NHMA, New Hampshire Municipal, or Primex, and then I could, if in fact, and several were, if I in fact thought it was a needed immediate attention, I could in fact make that decision to onboard an attorney, and would then at the very next meeting, I would always notice the chairman, and then at the very next meeting, it would be discussed. It would be the burden would be on me to prove to the board why I took that action. And it worked out very well because, as Catherine has said and previously, is when I got to the town, people were picking up the phone from different boards and committees and calling legal counsel, and I would get a bill, and before I signed off on the bill, I'd say, "Wait a minute," and so that was. And I've spoke to a few of my town administrator friends, and they have the same policy. That is directed by this board. I was told I did it the first time I did it when I came here, I got chewed out, and I was told it was by Pat that the Board of Selectmen needs to make a decision on if an attorney is needed. That was the board's policy. I thought it was a little behind the times, but because in most cases that I have seen since I've been your town administrator, these are issues that need to be addressed. In Pat's case, we've got 4 or 5 on the boiling pot that need immediate attention. And I mean, you're the bosses. If you want me to call a special meeting or ask you to have a special meeting to accept this counsel, that's fine, but I would suggest to you that I have pretty lengthy conservative approaches to budgets, and which was hence the reason that Tim and I came to the board asking for permission to ask for more money at town meeting because of the current legal situation. So,
So that was an Andover policy, right?
correct.
That's-
Andover Board of Selectmen.
That's my concern
Right.
is we need to look into what that is and either issue you that permission to do that or not. The other thing concerns me is 4 or 5 issues that we need attorneys for
Right.
at hand. And I,
Right.
as a selectman sitting here, I'd like to know who else knows about that.
Right.
Because I don't.
Right. Right.
So are you aware of it? 4 or 5 issues?
No.
And
No.
Pat,
Mm.
are you aware of 4 or 5 issues?
They evolve around the same case. So,
Oh,
but
so-
you guys are on board with what is taking place in the Wallace matter. So
Yes.
Yeah.
That,
that
No,
has,
I think I feel like I'm in the dark on
Okay.
all these other things as a selectman, and I'm supposed to be,
Right.
voted in to know
Yeah.
about these
So-
things that are going on.
so my thought would be, if that's the case, then Scott
I
can,
will-
Scott can reach out to me
right.
and we'll request an emergency meeting and we'll do it that way. And if we have to do that every single time,
We'll be meeting a lot, right?
we'll be meeting a lot. But
We used to meet every week.
but I do think we need to
Yeah.
look at that, because I don't know
Right.
I
what
think
other
we're going
town
back to the
administrators.
days of micromanaging.
Well, and that's
I
the
think
thing.
that's what we're going
It's
back
our
to.
budget. This is about our budget. And as Tim said,
We can rule our
it's-
budget and not micromanage.
Yes.
it's not micromanaging. The prudential affairs of the town is the Board of Selectmen's responsibility. The budget is our responsibility. Overspending it, our responsibility. That's what this is about. And
I do-
I think it's about a lot more than that.
you're entitled to think what you want. This is the town of Tilton. And if you want to change any of this,
Mhm.
then the Board of Selectmen should have that conversation with you.
Yep.
And shape something.
Sure.
I'm just saying,
Yep. That might
what's
be,
happening now
Right.
needs to stop because it's out of control.
I'm glad everybody has brought this up, because John does make a good point. We do need to take a look with that. And if this is a policy that we could look at, because I do think it's going to be difficult for us to have emergency meetings all the time. And I do think that's kind of behind the times. And I think that the town has instilled in all of us to manage the town budget, not go over. We have a town administrator that we hired. We have Tim as well.
Right.
And I think with all of us, we can come up with a solution
Mhm.
that will make it work for all of us.
yeah, I agree.
I do. And
Yep.
I do agree. I mean, even just saying we would have, because I do know that there are things that the zoning board has to get counsel on. And sometimes it can be multiple different things in multiple different cases. So it needs, I wouldn't want to be calling an emergency meeting at like every other day for something.
Right.
So I think if there is a solution that we can all come to, whereas we're doing that in a respectful way and conserving on the budget and making sure that that is the most important thing, and also the ability to give him the authority in cases that need to be addressed. I do think it would be your responsibility to make us
Justify
aware
it, justify
right
it.
away,
Yep.
right? And that
Yep.
is something that, you could send it in an email and I could forward it to the rest of the board.
Well, he needs to contact the Board of Selectmen.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, of course. But
Right.
I'm saying, like, if a policy or something that we ended up changing. So I think that at some point, that's something we should look into.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
The email should be to BOS,
Yeah.
all the selectmen, but not
exactly.
specifically
Right.
to.
I mean, it
Just-
is concerning the three of us are sitting here and have no idea what these
Hmm.
emergency cases are.
Well,
Right.
But I agree.
and
We need to work with
solutions-
you.
Yep.
When John is here, the five of us, a policy
Mhm.
that handles the things I spoke of.
Yep. I think it's a great idea.
all right.
And do you want to discuss Tim's financial report? Or
Let me
should
ask
I-
you this question. Do you want an attorney present at the zoning board on the 20th?
Does the zoning board want an attorney there? That's the question. Has the zoning board requested an attorney for that meeting?
Well, they have
It's not
no,
in their minutes.
so they have no time to meet. I mean, do you want them to call a special meeting to ask for the Board of Selectmen for a lawyer? Is that what you want them to do? To have a special meeting
That's
to
what's
ask
required,
for,
isn't it? If the zoning board wants an attorney present at their meeting, they need to request it.
otherwise you just let them
Well, and here's the
hang
issue.
in.
Which attorney are we going to have there? Because we essentially fired
Well,
one.
that's up to the Board of Selectmen.
Right, we essentially fired one. I should say, we replaced one.
Yeah, you never
So
fired
those are
one.
the questions that the Board of Selectmen need to answer.
Well, so here's the conundrum now, because we already know that there's something coming up on the 20th. Do you want to hang them out by themselves, or
You know,
do you want to make a phone call and say, in order for you to have a lawyer present, you need to request it, and in order to request it, you need to have a special meeting?
well, isn't it too bad we weren't following the rules months ago? But the problem here is, there's a meeting on the 20th. They're going to continue their case. Okay? Now, threats can come from all kinds of places. I've lived it. We've all lived it. Oh, well. They have a hearing to conduct. They're going to conduct that hearing. Whatever the outcome is, who knows if it's going to satisfy the applicant. But the zoning board, like
We
I said,
don't know, but do you want to be proactive or do you want to be reactive? That's the question, Catherine.
what I want to be
These are our committee
is
members.
responsible for my job as selectman.
Okay, but these
And
are our
this
committee
is not
members.
making me responsible
You
for my job
remember,
as selectman.
A couple
This is
weekends,
our
a couple
policy.
weeks ago, you wanted to wrap our arms around our committee members. These are our committee members that are going to be there on the 20th.
And they're going to conduct a hearing. Are you telling me that somebody's going to be sitting there with a shotgun? We can't control that hearing or how they're going to,
But we can protect it.
how you're going to protect it. They're going to hear the case.
Mhm.
They're going to make a decision on the hearing,
Well, you know so much.
and that's it.
You
I don't know so much. That's as simple as it
obviously
is.
you do. You just know everything. Everything.
At any rate,
You
Might I just add a little bit? I'm concerned as your town administrator because of the involvement of the case, where we are in this legally. And it's my thought that, yes, we're going to fix this from here on in, but it's my thought that we have legal counsel there to make sure that things are done in the proper perspective and that we don't get ourselves deeper in the mud, if I can say that. I do understand the board. I think we'll iron this out, and we'll will do the right thing, but I am concerned because of the 20th, and I want to make sure that it's my job to make sure that I help keep you guys out of the legal mud and myself as well. But I'm somewhat concerned that if this were just a separate hearing, different hearing, whatever, I'm very comfortable with, the zoning board as well, but this is the concern. It's who the case involves and where we are.
It's not
Today.
just one case,
I
it's
know,
two
okay.
cases from two separate cases from two separate opposing councils.
That we're involved
Just
with
keep
legally.
that in mind.
Legally.
Well, isn't it too
Legally.
bad the Board of Selectmen weren't aware of this?
Oh, listen, it's on the website, it's on the agenda. But I'm just a secretary.
Perhaps we should have a brief non-public or attorney-client privileged
Mhm.
conversation at the end of this meeting.
We didn't post it.
We don't have to.
You don't have
Doesn't
to.
have to
The
be on the
agenda is
agenda.
a courtesy.
Right.
It's not required by 91A to have an agenda. But obviously, three of us need to be apprised of this situation that we know nothing about.
I thought my email requesting 91A information was accurate.
That doesn't alarm me to have an attorney. So again, perhaps we should
All right.
have that conversation. A's are simple requests for information.
Right.
We should not read into them more than what is there.
Well, and I did get this off the
Hold on one,
website.
Scott. You have anything else after that? Okay.
I don't dare.
All right.
I did have the question out there. Are we going to go over the expense report Tim gave us, or I can email him my questions for the next meeting?
Why don't we have you email him for the next meeting, and we'll do that.
I can CC the board.
Yeah. And we'll go. So I do want to do a non-public after at the end of this. So because I think it is warranted. So are there any, it's 6:09 right now. Are there any public comments? Anybody online have any public comments? I don't see anybody raising their hand. All right, let's do the completion of the abatements.
Mr. Chairman, can I get you to do these 2025 exceptions, elderly and disabled?
Oh, yeah.
There's 4 granted and 2 denied for disabled, vet and disabled. And then there's 8 elderly grants in this packet.
Okay.
So these are basically to be signed?
Yeah, granted veterans. These, one of them did occur, not qualified before town meeting, but now qualifies, and Lauren.
Oh, yeah,
Lauren has
because the
approved it.
adjustment.
Right, with the adjustment, so.
So there are 5 total?
I believe there's, in your packet, those ones in your packet. I think,
That
I
was
get-
left on the table.
yeah,
get-
yes.
I get 4, you get 5.
And those were the ones the board specifically asked for additional information.
Jesus.
Are we doing the first one? The first abatement?
The orange elderly,
This is a to
Number
be
1?
signed folder,
right,
basically,
yes, basically.
All right.
or not.
And then we'll do the abatements if you want, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
And,
So these are just elderly and then there's more to come?
yes, we're gonna do these other ones. So,
What got them the other time?
we,
I make a motion that we deny 2024-09.
actually, we're doing the
We're
Oh.
doing the,
Number 1?
elderly and vet exemptions.
So we're talking about number 1?
Yes.
So if we're gonna do that, I'm gonna stop signing these because I can't do this and that at the same time.
we're gonna do these first. The elderly exemptions.
What are these?
Those are the
That's the
abatements.
abatements.
Those are different.
So this one doesn't say granted or denied on it. I presume it's granted from the statement.
I thought you had it marked on the cover.
Well, this says granted, but the
Yeah.
form itself
Yeah.
is not checked. Granted or denied. But I'm reading this, I'm assuming it's granted.
Yes, yes, that was the, wait a minute, what's the name on that? Cat?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. What was the name on the front? Without saying it, let me. No, I believe that one is.
It was in this. Right here.
No, that's, yep, okay, that's
And it
good.
says-
That's good, yep. Yeah,
Meets all of the statutory
Yeah.
requirements.
Yep, no, that's good.
So is
You're
it
right, yes.
that?
Yes, it's granted.
Okay.
Thank you for catching that.
Oh, you're welcome. I know I would miss a lot of them if I was doing all this. Okay, I'm scribbling my name in an effort to be quick. All right. I'm gonna hand you these.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you the envelope too.
Twix. Oh, no, I was thinking the cereal,
Oops,
the
gave you
rabbit.
the wrong one.
I was thinking the rabbit, the cereal. Is Twix for kids? So was that Trix? Oh, okay.
Is it?
What is that?
Places you got something?
I'm not sure why this is in here. It's signed 2/20/25.
Oh, yes, it's. And I have the originals, Mr. Chairman, when you're ready.
What's that, Scott?
I have the originals when you're ready for the other one, so,
The abatements?
Bates, yeah.
Scott, I don't know what this one means. It's not check granted or denied. None of these are. But they were in this. But the statement is confusing.
Hmm.
Veterans.
Oh, brother.
It was in this. Granted elderly.
Granted, okay. Oh, this was a surviving spouse, right? This
Yeah.
was denied, yes. Yeah, this was denied because
I wouldn't even want to,
she attempted to, she was married, she got, her husband, she got the exemption from her first husband. He passed away, she got remarried, she loses that exemption.
Yeah.
But see, it wasn't even checked off which one it was. Right.
I'm going to
As a
give you
single
these with a
filer in
clip,
2026.
but there's more to go with the bundle.
Okay.
Yeah, so keep this right in there.
Yep. John's got everything on that end.
But we will have to have you sign it because I'm gonna check off.
So I don't know what this means because it's not said, and it was in that granted, but it says below established. However,
Income is closed.
it doesn't, she
You
either
need
does
to
or
call her.
doesn't. Sounds like she does.
Sounds like she does too. Yes, yes.
Or he, I don't know if it's a she or he.
This was another new, that as town meeting. She was not before town meeting, she now is afterwards.
Okay.
This one only has 1, 2, 3 places.
That's an old form.
Yeah.
Must be an old one.
Oh, maybe no. Maybe 4. Maybe I guess. Yeah, 4 places. This is an old one. We gotta
I'm going to
get.
hand this back to you, Scott.
We gotta get
Eric.
that. What's that?
That was the one I showed you.
Oh, did I miss it?
It was the last page as well.
Oh, okay.
All right, that's the last one.
All right, one down. Won't you be glad you missed?
Goes with that bundle.
Oh my God. So that's gonna go down to.
All right.
That's done. That's done.
All right, so once John's done that, we'll start on abatement.
Cover letter.
Yep.
In each one of your packets.
Yep. So we're going to start on 2024-09. This was more information requested from Pat.
What'd you get?
Applicant is
That's the abatements now. Copy your packet that I gave you. Tonight we'll have a form like this, so it explains in red what was changed. Now we have to sign those. Using these.
what I oh,
Yeah.
those are the abatements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got right at the edge, John.
Yeah, I get pretty used. I was doing reports all day, so
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you've been through that.
Oh, I can.
What's this one? So, do you want you look at any of them or? Okay.
I didn't like signing that one.
What did you say, Catherine?
I said I didn't like signing that one.
This one, does
I
this?
don't agree with the assessments
Oh.
overall.
Was this for the first one, 09?
No, that's,
Oh.
I don't know what that one's for.
Yes, this one's for
Okay.
20. The first one, 2024-09.
Oh,
Yeah. That's number
so
one.
I went ahead and signed it and we didn't even make a decision.
We did.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we deny 2024-09 number 1.
I'll second. Any discussion?
I'll just see if that's one. Nope, I don't need
No discussion. And no discussion from her.
This person withdrew and didn't want to complete the worksheet,
Yep. Okay.
so that's the reason.
Yep. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Just sign denial.
We'll jump to 4. That's probably an easy one.
Hmm?
Want to jump to 4? That's an easy one. I don't know. I don't.
So this
I don't
one-
care whatever which one you think is.
All right. So that's the first one. Applicant meets disability requirements.
I'll do it.
And there's
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept number 2, 2024-16 disability.
I'll second. Any discussion?
This is approval. Oh, I'm sorry. you didn't call.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Two signatures, Catherine.
Which one is this?
This is 2024-16.
This is
This is the one we just voted to.
Oh, this is the one we just voted?
Yep. I don't want to get too far ahead, so everybody's on the same page.
which one is this one here?
That's the first one.
This
And you
is
don't
the
sign
first
the, yeah, don't sign that one. You're going to sign the denial. Yeah, there you go. That one.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering there. Since and okay, there is 0. I would assume that next year there won't be as many.
I hope so.
Jeez, I hope not.
There's nothing else. And, yep. Yay, 1 down. We just did 2, right?
Mhm.
Or are we still on it? I don't
No,
think
we
voted
just
yet.
did 2.
We just voted on number 2. That's the
Was
one you're
the
signing
2,
right there.
And that's this one.
Yep. All right. And now,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we accept number 3, 2024-27.
so we're accepting the assessor. You on that one?
Overruling the assessor
All right.
on number 3.
Number 2.
Number 3.
I have a question on number 2.
Yep. Go ahead, John.
So number 2, we just said yes. What
Yeah, go
was-
ahead.
That we're going to, that they meet the disability requirements, right? And I'm saying about, and that's for the, oh, it's not an abatement. We're saying
It's a disability.
instead granted, okay. I'm just wondering, because both of these pages are signed,
It should be just the top one.
but this one's,
Previous denial.
So we accepted the,
for this one, we just signed today, okay? For no date, okay, and 1/9/25, and that's
This
for
was
the
the ori-
denial?
this was the original one.
Right. We're overruling that.
That's why the date's all the way back there.
I'll just,
And this is the overruling of, and we're approving now that.
disagree, okay, disagree with the disposition of over.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Over that one. Yeah, I just didn't sign. I gotta sign the second page. Yeah, I know it's confusing. And some of these are old. Some of these are old forms.
Yeah.
Some
that's what-
places it's only
I'm looking-
three signatures.
So I need to sign this one as well then.
And I'll sign the the bottom one.
Actual, you'll put the date on yours. I didn't want to fill it in or anything.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. I'll second.
And then I think Scott, yes, Eric.
So
missed
this
it
is
too.
number 3, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then
And the motion is to overrule the assessor?
Correct.
Yes.
In the amount of 1525.
this is- This is on number 2. We're on the.
And then Pat just needs to sign that one on the top.
Oh,
Yeah, Pat does. Was didn't you mention? Someone mentioned it to me before that when looking at the abatement, it's the difference of from the 24 to the 25.
Correct.
Yep. Yes.
They
I
didn't
think it was you
qualify
that
before.
you went through all that.
And they do qualify.
Yeah. Okay.
But this one, I gotta agree with the
Have to come
assessor.
in.
There was no real, the case hasn't been made by the property owner. Although, he says in here, it says in here that there's a mistake, I guess, made in his assessment as far as the bathrooms go, and that's not addressed.
My house is 2.
And he also writes down, what does he have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different, are those addresses?
Mm-hmm.
But the front page only talks about one. Or not the front page, the comments made on the back. Is this, we've sent this back, right?
Yes, you did. Yeah. Taxpayer sites,
I don't know if our questions were answered.
several other homes in Flint Hills are assessed for less or more. They are not comparables and there is nothing to address specifically as he just made a general statement.
Didn't really make a general statement though.
But he did specifically mention bathrooms.
Yeah.
That there was an
And he listed
assessment.
1,
Does that
2,
matter?
3,
Like,
4,
in
5
that?
other homes. Maybe not in detail, but he still listed them. We send it
Everything
back.
matters in an
Right.
assessment.
So, didn't we come across something like this before? And you said that you would, not with this one, obviously, but
Something else, yeah.
there was something else, and you found the comparables for that, I believe.
I'm not sure I did, but
You want to question it? Hold on.
Oh,
I'm going to agree with Catherine because I think that this, in what he's stating, she's not
addressing.
addressing it
It was me.
specifically.
And that's the bathrooms, right?
Well, the only thing it says they are not comparables, but
Right.
it's not
He's-
specific enough to say.
But he
why they're not.
specifically wrote, my house is not a 2-bath. It is a 1.5. And then he cites multiple other places.
But he doesn't say what baths those are.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's what he's referring to. is 1.5 as a second back.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why.
Somewhere newer.
But she,
I'd have to look at those
yeah, you list,
addresses and see what it
yeah,
lists. and
it's
look
not
at the-
addressed.
Yeah, look at the cards on them.
We'll hold that one.
All right.
Oh, wait.
So
Here we go. Here we go.
we have a motion and a second on the floor.
2027. That's
Call a question.
2024.
No.
No.
No, I don't agree with the motion.
Right.
Okay.
Motion fails?
Motion
Oh,
fails.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
That's right. That's motion fails. Yeah. So take all the packets for 3, and we'll set that off to the side. Here's Catherine's.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to deny the abatement application for, I'm not really sure if we can say this out loud, but
You want the number?
Number.
4.
number 4.
Yeah. 2024-48.
That one.
Okay. I'll second it.
I'm still reading it. I'm sorry.
This was the one. You have the face sheet, right, Catherine?
Yeah, it's right here.
Okay. That gives some detail on it. This is
Well, I'm
one we did
reading.
look at. Oh, yeah. We did look at this one.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So that's this one.
Yep.
And the last one, which is the motion. Motion was to deny 4.
Here's this one, Scott.
Oh, this is on Winnisquam. Okay, that's where I was confused. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah.
This-
So any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Aye.
It's okay.
I'm
That's
still
all right.
going
Is this
back
the one we
over.
just
No, that's okay.
Yes, denial.
Which one? John, which one are
I
you
thought we
going
just
back
agreed
over?
with the assessor.
I was looking at 4.
Oh, 4?
No, it was to
Yeah,
deny
I
it.
was just looking for. Enjoying the.
This says, the Board of Selectmen disagreed with the disposition of abatement recommended by the assessor and instead grant the above referenced abatement for tax year 2024. I thought we just denied.
You did deny. Yeah, so you don't, yeah, you won't sign that. I should have taken the copy off.
You're
Yeah,
just
that's
trying,
my-
you're just trying to confuse me.
No, I'm confusing myself. What? Yeah, so that you just signed the denial.
Okay, so this is the one we want.
Sorry, I should have caught that, Kathy.
All right.
Happens is we got,
Well, we only have to go nice and slow because Amy's not here.
right. Well, last time you were Amy here. She wouldn't give me the signature copy until you guys.
That's because we're not scared to go ahead and
Yeah.
make you run around. Amy, nobody's going to say anything.
Exactly.
3.
That's a denial.
3.
So what I will do is take all your taxes. afterwards, throw them out.
All right. So you have number 3 is all set aside for you.
Yep. Hold, yeah, it's in the whole tab.
All right.
You want to save the 3 packets separate?
Yeah, he's going to want it back so we can.
They took your clip.
All right.
It's not working.
3. You want to hang? You can
There
have
it
that.
is.
Right? I don't need that.
Nope.
And this is number 3.
We're done?
4.
Oh, it's the 4.
We're done the abatements.
I
Yeah.
just did the 3.
We're done for the night?
No, you still have your report. Matter of fact, I think there were some things that we talked about in your report already.
Do you want that? Okay.
I had a question.
Oh. What? What are you laughing about?
Main Street beautification.
Oh. I saw that.
Trash barrels?
I saw that. But he was trying to be nice by saying, right for planting.
Trash barrels?
Hint, hint, Catherine.
I thought you meant the barrels. The self-watering things.
Oops. All right.
All right. Where are we? Make sure we got everything signed.
again, John?
I didn't catch the awnings. I usually see that. And
Oh.
I had tunnel vision, I guess.
All right. You're up now.
Okay. Brief and to the point, because I know we got to do something at the end here. Crosswalk painting I discussed with Shane probably in the next couple of weeks.
Mhm.
The chief did have a concern about street sweeping. I have Shane following that up because they were supposed to schedule it with him when they finish up Northfields. Okay, and you did talk to the state.
What's the
Okay.
concern?
Well, the concern was that doing Route 3,
Oh, okay.
you know, at our cost. But
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
can you, Chief?
Just real quick, so with Shane being in that new position, after Kevin had left, I think there was some miscommunication, and last year just the roads weren't done, and obviously as law enforcement, we have people that have to move to the side of the road, motorcycles, things like that. So we had worked together with Shane and kind of got together, and you can see they've been downtown doing a lot of the sweeping and things. And we actually met and kind of I showed them the areas that I had concern with.
Yep.
I know there's only so much in the budget also with that. And a lot of these areas are state roads. So I did reach out to DOT and they got right back to me. I talked to Dana and then Hutchison, who was actually the, Division 3 rep around here. And he had reached out and they said, yes, they actually should be doing the streets in Tilton, as in the state roads, because some places, I guess, are white lined, which means that the town takes care of it, I guess. I'm not quite. So we did have a discussion and they are waiting to, within the next 2 weeks, they should have a sweeper truck coming through this area and they're going to get that taken care of. So that the town can focus more on our side streets and the other areas that we can pay for. So.
Okay, good.
So last year, they didn't do all the way up to our area.
Yeah.
And like in front of the old PD, it was a massive amount of sand there.
They didn't do any at all, and we had noticed that. And I remember Shane being here, and it wasn't anything on Shane. It's just he's in a new role, kind of like when I was in my new role, and was like, "Oh, that's done." I remember it being in here. "Oh, it's done every couple of years," and it was like, "No, that's done every year." And it was just some. When Kevin was here, I think it was just. Some things just don't get passed along. So the streets were not done last year. Liability wise, there's going to be a lot of issues. Now, that's for the town. There's no excuse for the state. I mean, not that whoever's listening.
So I was speaking of the state.
Yeah, the state hasn't done.
Missed them last
yeah,
year,
they did
too.
miss them. It's been a little while because there's probably at least 3 to 4 inches in some of these areas.
State doesn't do the sweeping.
Oh, yes, they do. They do in front of my house.
Yes,
Well,
I talked to the state. That's
Every
what I was
year,
saying.
Except for
They
last
should.
year.
Then we do it too. So we also pay to have it swept.
No, they stop, I believe, down by the railroad track,
Correct.
somewhere around there. And then we take over, I believe, is it railroad track to railroad track? Or
Yes.
a railroad track
Correct.
to...
So why wouldn't we? Oh, I know. Never mind. I get the answer
That-
because
Yeah.
we own.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of turnaround too, not even here, just with state. I know there's some
We
different
own
DOT.
so many feet out from the curbing, so the sand that's at the curbing is actually ours.
Yeah, I think it's just a lot of communication, just reaching out. Because when I reached out to the state, they were like, "Yeah, we'll get a truck." We're trying to
Very good.
coordinate. It's busy time, and so I think it's just that communication back and forth when it's going to happen, when we get our truck and the sweeper, and kind of go from there. So
I'll watch.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
I will need from Mr. Chairman and Selectman Dawson, if you would just email me a date in the next, maybe either next week or the following week that'll work for you to meet with Ron Dunlop so we can go over the trough,
Oh,
if that's acceptable. Paving, I think I told you, end of May, beginning of June. We expect that we'll have them for about 2 weeks for most of our projects. Shane, in his report, I think, indicated which ones were going to be done. I did want to ask the board if you were okay with me getting a paving cost for the property that we owned at the end of Mechanic Street. Should we decide to, I would only want to get a cost, but should we decide to hang on to that and use that for island parking in the future? It's not a very big area, but I did ask Shane to ask him to get a cost while he was giving us pricing. So,
We own a big section out there,
yeah,
but we know it's all used by the tenants.
right. Right.
And in fact, one of them used to have tractors parked on it.
Yeah.
Policing it would be the thing.
Overflow on,
If we
okay.
pave it, they will come.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So how do we, I agree with your
Yeah.
purpose, but how do we keep it clear to be used for that purpose?
well, we would have to ask the chief to
Well,
have his troops, able troops handle it, but we would assign permits and parking like we do now. So, yeah,
The other area for that.
whatever, we could discuss it, but I'd like to at least get an idea.
estimates are free.
Do we need to pave it?
Uh,
It's pretty solid. Everybody's parking on it, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard packed.
yeah, I would only think,
No money.
yeah, I would only think when we get the junk and stuff out of there and that, that it might, improve the appearance.
So the RV's still down there.
Yes. Yeah.
Why? Where's that status with that?
I've got to find out. I was going to ask the chief to run the VIN or whatever, because it's basically abandoned.
We got a court order for that already.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
And then we have all the VIN numbers. The only problem is the RV.
Hey.
Speaking to the mic. The RV is chock full of stuff. And what happened, I talked to Rusty, the vehicles, I think at one point the vehicles were taken off site so they could then, and then they were actually brought back on some of them. But the RV is so rotten and full of stuff that will rip in half when he goes to pull that out of there. So yeah, that's going to have to be figured out with the town. Scott and I will probably talk about that, of how that's going to be.
Rent a dumpster. And
Yeah, take it apart. I mean, there's probably 5 or 6 vehicles on that property too, motorcycles. So the lot has to be cleared.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think it's an eyesore. I rode down there and
There's
looked
and
at it.
last thing I heard was like rodents and rats and all kinds of stuff living in that RV down there. So it's a
Yeah,
now
well,
I don't know if was it the New Hampshire junk couple and stuff like that, if that's something that they're interested in doing it. And
hiring one of those junk removal companies.
Yeah.
because it goes on to the ongoing bill for that piece of property, that if it was sold
Right.
or taken,
Yep.
it would come off of that price anyway. So if we intend to keep it, it would come off of that price anyway. So
Right.
if you pay now or pay later, but it's a mess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know what's living in there.
So is it something that'll have to be cleaned out before any attempt is made to move it?
I look at the chief because I'm not sure. I just
That's
noticed it.
something we
I
could
would say-
hire
Yeah.
gentlemen down there on, what is it, North Main Street in Concord?
I mean, you have so many vehicles and you're already allowed, you've already had clearance with all the letters and they're
Right.
finding out how much for the scrap of the vehicles would probably pay for potentially the cleanup. I don't know what vehicles per vehicle it goes for, if any of them are even worth. Some of them, I guess, don't look that bad. I don't know if they can, but the RV itself, that will have to be cleaned out, or someone's have to go down there, DPW with a dumpster and just pull it apart with an excavator or something with a claw. I would have to say.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead, Pat.
Can we back up to the paving of the roads?
Yep.
Because at one point in time, a couple of years ago, Catherine maybe remember, and John, there was an issue on Maple Court on drainage.
Yep.
And at that time, it was decided that there may be necessary to put in drainage when they do the road. They were supposed to do the road last year, but it got pushed
off.
over for Morrison Avenue. There's been no mention to any of the neighbors or owners of Maple Court where that water's going to go, if they're going to, at the end of May is coming up pretty soon, if they're going to be doing any drainage. And
Yeah.
if they're not going to be doing any drainage, it's going to create a bigger problem than what's there already.
Okay.
I think there was a problem at the end of the road. It was going across the
Mhm.
street and flooding the neighbor's yard.
Oh.
So it goes this way. It goes to the right. If you're looking up the road, it goes to the right, and it comes into 7 Maple Court's lawn, across the driveway into the lawn. And then some of it, if it gets past the driveway of 7 Maple Court, on the left-hand side, the rest of it goes down, and it kind of disperses equally among them, but it really should have some type of drainage,
Okay.
because it goes right across. You could tell it wore WORE,
Oh,
the
payment.
the end of 16 Cedar,
Mhm.
and when they put some ledge pack down, it took that away too.
Right.
So
Okay.
it's pretty strong when it gets to be
Heavy.
a lot of rain, and like we've had in the last couple of days. We've had some rain 2 or 3 days,
Yep. Okay.
but there's been no mention
Okay.
at all of
I wasn't aware of that,
any
Pat.
drainage, and that
Yeah.
should take place before we pave.
Okay. I will deal with that with Shane. So,
Okay.
The state meeting that we were going to hold on the 30th obviously got continued at their end. I will be getting a new date. I will send it out. We can do it in the same fashion, just all come here and meet and ask questions and that stuff. Other than that, I'm all done.
A question. I was unable to find the letter that you sent. It looked like a draft copy, not an official document on procedures for boards and committees.
Okay.
Remember the one we're talking about? There was a letter, just blank paper. It didn't have any signatures, didn't say procedure. It wasn't signed by selectmen, and that was purported to be
appointing, yes.
for replacing and
Right.
and committees.
Yes.
I can't find it anywhere on the drive.
Yeah. Oh, you and I went back and forth on this, John. I can't tell you where I found it. I did find it and I sent it to you.
Yeah. But typically, all of our documents on those procedures,
Right.
and I know that we do that,
Mm.
and to be a valid document, they're signed
Right.
and a date, and we had discussed, if it does get changed, that a note is put amended
Right.
on such and such a date.
Right.
And that looks more like just a draft, so I don't know how that got on there.
Yeah, I don't either.
That's not really the official procedure.
Okay.
If you go to the town website and anybody can do this, and you click on
Yeah.
boards and committees,
Yeah,
and you look, and there is the official procedure for doing that.
on the website.
Yeah, and it does
Okay.
mention about maybe necessary for a 2-day, 2-meeting
Okay.
thing. And that was so that somebody wouldn't just get into it and then, it's not for me, or jump in there just so that they can go and vote on a specific item that's on the agenda for
Right.
that, and then never show up again, because we've had that happen in the past. People jump in and do that.
Right.
But it's right on there. Everybody can get to it.
Boards and committees.
Boards
Okay.
and committees, there's a brief paragraph at the top, and there's a link,
Okay.
and it's 2019 signed by all the selectmen on that actual procedure.
All right.
Thank you.
Just real quick, the municipal parking lot survey. Are you good with that, Catherine? Did you have any other questions on that?
No, actually, yeah. Does he put in the points?
I've emailed him and asked him to come to, I told him the 2 meeting dates this month. He said he would have an answer for me by the end of April. He hadn't got him in at that time, but I haven't heard from him again. In the last 2 weeks, I've been tied up on another matter, so I haven't been able to chase it down. But he will be contacting me once he gets him in, and then I've asked him to come to the board so that we can sit down and you can ask any questions. So
Do we know what he's putting in for boundary markers? It is a parking lot.
right,
I think he said,
N-
he did say the
Flat.
pins that were driven.
Pins.
Yeah,
yeah,
Right.
That are going to be flush
Flat.
with the ground.
Flush with the,
yeah.
right.
yeah.
He did mention that.
So no
Yeah.
granite.
Probably on the back
Yeah.
side, they would probably put up, you probably have a post where it's dirt with a train track, you know what I mean, on that line on that end. But in the pavement, we would do, because I've surveyed for
Okay.
years. It would just be it's a
Yeah, he
survey
did say
pin,
flush.
and it's flush with the ground.
Okay.
That's right.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Any other going on? No?
Motion to adjourn.
I thought we were going to have a
Yeah.
conversation.
We're going to go into a non-public.
All right.
All right.
What's the non-public about?
Time being 7:00. Make a motion to go into non-public matters which RSA 91-A:3, Section 2C, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board, unless such person requests an open meeting. This exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant. A second.
Second.
Just discussion, is this a non-meeting or a non-public? Because if it's not going to discuss a person, it's just a brief on legal things, it would have to be a non-meeting. We would recess for a non-meeting and then come back out of recess.
I'm not sure why you're going into it, but
Me either. I have no clue
Oh,
why
I
we're
thought-
going into it.
no.
Because we asked to be brought up to date on these pending
That's-
cases
Right.
that 3 of us don't know anything about.
Well, then I think that you should invite the secretary of the land use office and next meeting,
So
and she can
my
update
question
you.
would be,
Well, I
are we
thought
going
Scott
to
knew all
recess,
about this.
which is a non-meeting, if you're not talking, because if you
I-
look at the non-public, it would be for reputation of somebody.
Right. Well, this is going to be, we're going to be discussing
Current,
the current stuff.
And that's
Current.
not meeting,
Yeah.
Okay.
right.
non-meeting, right?
I
If it's not attorney-client, it's non-public. If it's attorney-client, then it's an attorney-client meeting. I mean, it's attorney-client and it's not a meeting.
Mr. Chairman, might I make a suggestion that
Yep.
we determine why we're going to go into non-public so we meet the criteria?
Well,
You said you wanted to have a non-public, and I thought it was because
Yeah, there.
If you're going to have a non-public to discuss with the land use coordinator cases that you want to know about, you need to prepare and ask that land use coordinator to be prepared at a meeting so that you could be updated.
So is my,
So from the previous conversation, it was my understanding that you were aware of reasons we would need an attorney currently.
Yes, yes.
So I'd like to be updated by the town administrator. And then if we feel the need for further updates, we can go that route.
and that would be a non-meeting recess because it's not a
Unless,
reputation.
unless we're going to
Right.
discuss something else.
Nope, that's
Nope.
if you just want to do the non-meeting, that's fine.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So we don't need all the forms in that.
Nope.
So,
So we still have the motion on that deal for
Yep.
the,
So I'm gonna revoke that motion,
we can vote it down.
or we can vote it down.
Yep.
No,
No.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
And I'll make the motion to go into recess for a non-meeting.
second.
no, we can just adjourn if you want, Mr. Chairman.
No.
We can adjourn and then just discuss it.
I'd
'Cause
rather
it's-
the public was aware
It's attorney-client.
that we went into an attorney-client privileged information because we are all meeting. So the public's aware that we're taking this break to get that information.
That's fine.
Yeah, because when we come out, we just go adjourn, motion to adjourn. So
All right.
that was my motion recess for non-meeting.
And I seconded it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
Okay.
This conference will now be recorded.
I have a quick question before we adjourn.
Yes.
Do we have reports from those,
We in the meeting yet?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
We have to do the motion.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a
Oh.
motion to come out of recess. Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Aye.
do we have reports from, welfare, health, and who else?
Oh,
Are those the only ones that report to us quarterly?
Yeah.
Land use.
Yep.
Welfare.
Yep.
I don't think those are quarterly. I think
No.
those are monthly.
Monthly is land use, quarterly is health, and
Welfare.
quarterly is welfare. And I did speak to our welfare person, and she made that clear that she will do that. That's what she's been doing.
Okay.
So, yep, you will have them. Mine is going to be a little detailed because it's been a little busy. So,
all right. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.